In essence, as far as marketing, we really try to deploy kind of an authority type positioning within that space. We use a sales enablement strategy for our go-to-market. So in that, it's really about we know our audience doesn't necessarily always understand what we do, and there has to be a way for them to resell or to kind of present themselves as the authority in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of education. There's a lot of question answering. There's a lot of showing up and not winning, and then showing up and winning. But it is that kind of consistent support there, and really doing that walking the walk in sales enablement.
Hey guys, welcome to the Grow IT podcast. Your host here, Alessandro Cutri, joined today by none other than Brian Gerstner. We'll be diving into a little bit about his story, some engaging insights into the marketing space, and he'll be sharing some different things with us. So make sure to stick around. This is going to be a value-packed episode. But without further ado, I'll just go ahead and kick it on over to you, Brian. If you don't mind just introducing yourself, telling the audience just a little bit about you
Yeah.
and just your story.
Oh, wonderful. My name, as you said, was Brian Gerstner, and I'm the president of White Label IQ. With White Label IQ, we're basically a white labeling agency that provides design, development, and paid media support exclusively to other agencies. In that space, we're providing bandwidth and specialized skill sets. So, the work inside of agencies fluctuates quite a bit, and also there's a need to be really good at what you do. So, keeping your team very focused is important.
Mhm.
And we bring a lot of specialists. So I can bring like a 12-year Python developer to the table where a lot of people can't really keep that person employed all the time. So
Yeah.
in that, my story kind of spans from I began as a graphic designer. That's how I
Uh-huh.
started wearing all the hats. Worked for an agency called Hebner Marketing.
Mm.
Ended up leading that agency. It was a more brand strategy agency focused in outdoor recreation and manufacturing. And White Label IQ was born within that agency. It was kind of one
Hmm.
of those situations where you solve a problem and that problem takes on a life of its own. And you get to a position where you realize you can't run two agencies that have different audiences very well. So at that point, I split with White Label, and that's where all my people were, and here I am today. I would say
Yeah.
it is. I really like the agency space. I like just the moxie, just the innovation. It's a very forward edge industry, and
Yeah.
yeah, I get a
Definitely.
lot of excitement being there.
Yeah. And you've been a part of, this his space for a little bit, right? Right. It's a couple of years, more than a couple of years now at this
Couple,
point.
right? Yeah.
What are some of the maybe the trends that you're noticing being a part of this agency space that you're kind of seeing right now within the marketing sphere world or in that world in
Yeah.
general?
So, I mean, some of the key trends, and we can talk about it a little bit more, but we also are founders of a research firm that within partnership with another agency called Audience Audit, where we focus on small to mid-sized agencies. So, in that research over the years, couple of years, what one of the things that really stands out to me is I'm seeing headcount shrink in a lot of agencies. So, a lot of it's happening through attrition. And in my personal perspective, coming from the things that I see, and my interpretation is, in the agency space, you really have to start focusing. So AI has started just beating the mediocrity out of us. I shouldn't say started, if it is. Um, so you have to show up with a lot more authority than you ever could. That
Yeah.
generalist position is way harder to defend than it ever has been, unless you're a very regional player and you have
Yeah.
but then you're kind of isolated to that regional play.
Yeah.
So in that though, in reducing headcount, there's a really strong need to build strategic partnerships.
Hmm.
Because just because you're good at what you do, there's still a lot of if you're actually as an agency trying to solve marketing problems, it's
Yeah.
not always going to be your core focus all the time. You're going to
Hmm.
need people from other disciplines, particularly it's like say you're in brand strategy, you will often need to bring somebody from the SEO field in, or you might need to bring someone from video or development in to really kind of build that best in class solution for your clients
Yeah.
so you can deliver that highest value. So, I mean, White Label's primary point of view here is that agencies agencies who thrive are the ones who are focused and they know what they do well, and they build partnerships with other agencies to deliver best in class services across the board, which
Yeah,
allows them to deliver more value at the end of the day.
that's a great
So,
point. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not I'm not sitting here self-serving with that. We're here because that's what I'm seeing happening.
Yeah.
So really just trying to lean into that.
Yeah, definitely. And I would agree, right? I think it's one of the things that we are seeing, especially with I mean, as saturation hits every single industry, right?
Right.
Marketing agencies, I feel like, is one of those where the saturation has hit as well. But it's more and more important to be able to specialize within a specific, offering or a specific service because, as you know, right, when it comes to marketing, it's not easy, right? And whoever says that it's easy, I would say it's probably
Oh no, I
lying,
mean it's
right? And so there's a level of specification that's needed to make sure that you're getting, good at that thing, right? To be able to deliver the results that,
yeah.
you can be able to deliver. And so
Well,
it's
yeah,
it's
it's also
impossible when you're trying to do everything, right?
and also like something I just it's just my interpretation is, you know, the agency space is really fragmented in general. I mean, and there's got a lot of problems in the sense that there's a lot of channel specific agencies. Just as I said, it's fueled by you have to be very good at what you do. So because of that, we have SEO agencies, paid media agencies, we have social agencies, we have development agencies, we have all these agencies out here who are very specialized in what they do. So, as a business, you go out there and you're hiring all these different channel partners, but your strategy is very fragmented because they can't come together. So the model of having like a fully integrated agency who was able to bring all those together and really do integrated work where the strategy was really tied together, that's a lot harder to do
Yeah. Yeah.
because like unless you got the big dollars to really work with a large agency that can actually deliver best in class across all those channels,
Yeah.
you're stuck like taping all these agencies together. So, and that's it going back to that scenario I described about partnerships. We're seeing a lot more value where agencies do build those partnerships. So there's a lot better communication. There's a lot more cohesiveness in the strategy. And then that pendulum of work coming in and out, in house, out to agencies, those partnerships allow the agencies to show up and manage for their end clients all
Yeah.
these partners in a more effective way. Because,
Yeah.
when agencies try to bring it in house, sometimes it works, but like, it takes that very special unicorn to be able to like manage an SEO agency
Yeah.
and PPC, paid media, brand strategy, designers, it's hard.
Yeah.
So like you try to do it and then you like can't and you go
Well,
back to the agency.
typically the
Yeah.
best mark or the best people within those agencies are typically the founders themselves, or where they
Yeah.
maybe know they
Yeah.
know how to do it. Right.
So as that pendulum swings, it's just
Yeah.
so the thing is these partnerships allow you to bring more cohesive strategy,
Yeah.
and end clients see it, but they're begrudging because they want to bring it in house, but yet they know that they have to pay the agencies to really do it well. So there's
Yeah.
it's hard writing that check.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So just to go into what you guys are building at White Label IQ, for the audience that doesn't know, if you could just dive into that a little bit, kind of that value proposition that you
Oh no,
guys
I
have,
appreciate it.
and
So we offer a hybrid offshoring model, which is focused on agencies because agencies need to be served differently than end clients. It's a complete different conversation.
Mhm.
In that hybrid model, here we're in Northern Colorado, up in Loveland, Colorado. I have account managers, I have directors over certain verticals, and in that we're providing, you know, that account service and that project management and those technical leads, during the day. But then we're also, we have access. We also have teams and offices in India, specifically in Ahmedabad, and from
Hmm.
there one part of the value proposition is we're giving access to offshore talent, but we have a managed approach to being able to handle that offshoring because it's not easy. The
Yeah.
communication, the quality, the consistency, through this managed solution, we're able to add a lot of value because at the end of the day, sure, you could bid on price, but for a lot of agencies, your reputation is based upon that deliverable from that partner. So you have to
Yeah.
buy trust. You have to be able to buy consistency. You have to
Yeah.
person's going to deliver for you, and the bottom dollar bid isn't going to be that person.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. It's like you said, it's more important. Reputation and trust is more important oftentimes than just the monetary gain that you can get from, right. Some agencies will prefer to keep their client relationship happy rather than having to, potentially disrupt it by bringing in another vendor that could potentially, cause some
Yeah,
disrupt in that sense. So yes, you have to be extra careful, right? In that sense.
yeah. We
Uh,
find that we find that story is really strong, like in agencies with headcounts, even from 1 up to 25. As you get
yeah.
into larger agencies, I recommend like there is a lot more value into accessing the talent directly. If inside of your business you have like the project management, the organizational structure to manage the people individually,
Yeah.
still then going offshore is hard. Vetting that person, making sure you're giving that person enough work, making sure they're showing back up. So there is still, issues in that, but
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And what's worked well for you guys in terms of like, when it comes to growing and, obviously I see obviously you were the
yeah,
COO at one point and then transitioning into, more of the president role. Like I'm sure you've had your hands on the growth engine a lot.
yeah.
So what's been the main thing that has worked well for you guys?
I mean, the key is like don't try to be everything to everyone,
Mm,
focus on a core audience. So the thing that's really helped us is our concentration into agencies. Really, understanding their problem. I mean, that's part of the reason we launched Agency Core, is because agencies in that space didn't really have a great research firm focusing on them. So we're really trying to deliver that independent research. So know your audience, know who you're talking to.
yeah.
You can't have a small enough audience because I mean, when you think about growth and marketing, you've only got so many dollars. So if you want to throw a bunch of dollars at a large crowd, no one's really going to recognize you. But if you can
Yeah.
get a smaller group of 5, 10 people, you can be really effective and you can really show up and demonstrate, your partnership and how you can be a help there. And at the end of the day, think about it. How many clients do you really need and want? Like having a list of like 100,000 people isn't going to do you a lot of good because you can't really serve them. You can't
Yeah.
show up for them.
Yeah.
Having a smaller audience is it feels contrary at times, but it's actually way more effective. You can
The
spend
riches are in the
better.
niches,
It
right?
is 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of anxiety in niching down, but it the cliches are there for reasons because it's true.
Yeah, it's 100%. Well, I mean, you have to just think about it, right, in terms of our everyday prospect, right? Especially, when you're thinking about reaching out to people. I mean, I always like to say we are what's called a trust recession, right?
Uh-huh.
Given the fact of how many how automation has absolutely like made it a lot harder for consumers to buy things now, because you look in your inbox, I'm sure you have 20, 30 emails a day trying to sell you something. Not same thing over here,
Yeah.
right? You're in your LinkedIn, right? You got 5 people trying to reach out to you saying, hey, could you hop on a sales call with me? And then you got a whole bunch of missed calls on your phone every single day from random people that are just calling you, right? So we are conditioned as these buyers nowadays, right? Where like our guards, when you have the sales resistance, right, that's up from all types of marketing and all types of efforts. So the only way to really break through any type of noise is with a very specific and relevant message, right? Otherwise, you're going to be just clumped together like all the other people that are reaching out to them, right? So it's
Yes.
literally the only way to really have a strong marketing message, I feel like, in 2025, especially if you're starting companies, to be specific for someone or something,
I
you
I
know.
mean, it's noisier than it's ever been, and it's only getting
Exactly.
noisier every day. So
Yeah, and it's only going to continue to get like that, right? As we
mhm.
continue to go. So to your point, it's more and more important now than
Yeah,
ever to find those pockets that you
yeah.
can take advantage of.
So in essence, as far as marketing, we really tried to deploy kind of an authority type positioning,
Yeah,
and within that space, we use a sales enablement strategy for our go to market. So in that, it's really about we know our audience doesn't necessarily always understand what we do, and there has to be a way for them to resell or to kind of present themselves as the authority in what we're doing.
yeah,
So there's just a lot of education. There's a lot of question answering. There's a lot of showing up and not winning, and then showing up and winning. But it is that kind of consistent support there, and really doing that walking the walk in sales enablement. making sure
Definitely.
like
Definitely.
you're asking questions and you're so that they can ask questions and just, that relent as my partner in agency core, Susan Bear said, just being relentlessly helpful is really the thing. And the beauty of that type of approach is no one likes to sell. No one
Yeah.
likes to be sold to.
Yeah.
But being helpful, it feels good, and
Yeah.
people recognize it when you're authentic about it.
No, it's a great point. I mean, I think we live in an era now where no one wants to be sold to, right? It's more of like, people want to sell themselves, right? And so
Yeah.
how do you sell yourself? You sell yourself by, to your point, buying into something or someone or buying into their brand or buying into their message, whatever it may be. I think it's more important than ever nowadays to have that authority, right? What type of authority are you building in your specific domain? And how are you letting, your potential customers know that you have that expertise, right? Because that's really, that's what's going to boost everything, right? If you have that authority, it's going to make cold outreach easier, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna make closing deals easier, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna speed up sales cycles, right? It's gonna make potential partnerships easier, right? So there's all these different things that stem from, like you mentioned, building that authority. That there's so many different ROIs from that itself.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
totally
It
agree with
takes
you.
a lot of time. So start today.
Well, exactly. And it's one of those things that, if it was easy to do, everybody would do it. And I think that's the thing about marketing and what people kind of have misconceptions around is they feel that they should spend 3 months of money into marketing and then boom, they're going to get, all these leads
Oh, yeah.
and they're going to be fine. Right. And I know, right, that that's not the case, right? Like you don't just
There's,
turn on a marketing engine and all of a sudden you're making a whole bunch of money. Right.
yeah, there's no silver bullet. And,
Exactly.
the key with the lack of a silver bullet too is it's because, um, a lot of times with that on and off approach, you're just screaming into an empty room. There's no one there to listen. So
Yeah.
unless they're really, unless you understand that you have to build an audience before you can market to them,
Yeah.
it's you're kind of wasting a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's 100. And I talked to a lot of business owners who are looking for that silver bullet, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, you have the wrong mentality here, right?
Hmm.
Because there is no silver bullet, one strategy. You're just one strategy that's going to take you there. It's like, no, it's
Yeah.
a combination of like doing the right things over the long enough period of time frame to then getting the results that you're going to be looking for.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and I know like, and the multiple channels is important too. Like, as many people coming into the pandemic, oddly enough, like our primary marketing strategy pre-pandemic was direct mail, selling digital services through direct
yeah,
mail. Well, that ended really fast, because you couldn't, everybody left the office. You didn't
yeah,
mail anything to, so um
yeah.
that
It's not
that
being channel
approach.
dependent, right? You got to have those
uh,
diversification because it just as one channel could work one day, the next day there's something that happens, right? Like
yeah.
so it's more important than ever to be diversified in that sense as well.
Hmm. And
Couldn't
once
agree
again, it's
more.
the silver bullet. That goes back to the silver bullet thing where,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you find something that works, don't get too comfy.
Yeah. We get a lot of founders and CEOs that tune into this, Brian, and a lot of them are looking for ways to grow their business, right? Everyone's always looking to see how can we continue to grow? How can we what do we have to do? You mentioned one thing, right? Like, you have to, don't be scared to niche down. But what are some other actionable steps that people can start to take and start to do to really help put them in a better position, that 6, 12 months down the road, they're, starting to get some traction.
Yeah, I think, what I would say is a lot of it is actually internal organizational structure. Even
Hmm.
if you're a small team, there's, when you're small, you're wearing a lot of hats. Everything's based upon relationships. You're just moving. It's very tribal in that way. But, even at that, even when you're like in, the 1 to 10 range, you have to put structure in how you go to things. You have to be able to prioritize things, or you end up being in a very reactive type approach. And
Yeah.
that reactive type approach is like you're going to burn out, you know, you're not going to get the traction that you need. So, I mean, I would say like stop, you know, go slower to go faster for a little while.
Yeah.
Put your plans together, bring your plans back, create feed loops within your organizations. So as you're doing things, you're articulating why you're doing things. Does it make sense? Okay. and that
Yeah.
once again,
Oh,
you're focusing on
you're
what
on the
you're
money, man. Yeah.
so that you follow through because
Yeah.
when you're reactive, you're getting halfway there and then you start another initiative and you're not really seeing the value and potential that you're putting through. So, put together a structure, put goals, have like regular weekly meetings, identify your priorities, and then execute on those. And before
Yeah.
before you do the next, before you start chasing the next shiny object. Inside of, if you're more the visionary person who has that, find somebody who will hold your feet to the ground, and
Yeah.
respect their opinion. And if you're the person who gets something done, hold that visionary to the ground. Don't let them don't let them get too distracted too rapidly.
Uh,
So,
Phenomenal. Yeah, it's great
yeah,
advice. Yeah, yeah. And I think that's so needed for so many people because I think as humans, we're almost ingrained to want to chase the shiny object or the next thing that comes along, right? And the
right.
next new thing to try this out and try that out. And especially as marketers, right? We're always trying to find,
Uh,
new things and new ways, but it's like you have to be disciplined in your approach and to understand. And I think it's great advice too, right? When it comes to, I feel that a lot of companies, at least we experience this, right, in our own company, we're bootstrapped, but at times we feel like we're almost funded, right, from how fast we're trying to grow or how fast you're trying to have things move, right, and I think it
yeah,
comes down to maybe a lack of impatience, and I think one thing that we've realized is that it's almost like to your point, like sometimes it's better to go slower so then you can go faster, right? It doesn't have to, you don't have to, push on the gas pedal all the time to try to grow at all costs, but instead you should think about, okay, what are the what's the structure going to look like? How am I going to actually build a sustainable business, right? The business the right way. And
yeah.
growing it in that fashion is less stressful, right? I mean, like that rapid growth, I don't know if you've been a part of it, right? It's obviously there's so much that goes into that, and you have to be able
No,
to
like,
you have to make sure you have to make sure you're really clear to take off if you're going to do that rapid growth.
I,
Otherwise, it can
yeah.
tank the business.
No, we've had in 4 years we went from 17 to almost 90 people now. So
Wow.
like, the way we work just kept breaking.
Yeah.
So, you're absolutely right. I mean, as you start growing, it gets, growth is expensive, number one,
Yeah.
and number two, like, as I said, it keeps breaking. The bigger you get, the more you have to really start putting processes and procedures, and you have to bring adoption into the place. And if you wait too long, just, you kind of implode.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is, as you were talking about, as we were talking about chasing shiny objects and things, as entrepreneurs or even in, marketing, sometimes, not all of us, but a lot of us, just, it's that ADD, just like moving on, love like the new problem, dopamine hit every time you hit a new problem, and you get kind of addicted to that.
Yeah.
But that's hard to not follow. That's hard to slow down because it's just in the nature of what partially makes you successful is
Yeah.
ability to problem solve and move quick and adapt to change.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's like a fine balance, right? Of,
Right.
like knowing when you can push the gas down and like also knowing when to slow down, also knowing when to chase something, when not to chase something, when being disciplined, when to pivot a little bit, when not like it's almost like
Right.
you there's like I've asked so many entrepreneurs this question and I always get like different responses in terms of like, when should you pivot or when should you try something new? When should you do this? Right. It's always like, and it's one of those things that it's almost like experience that you get from like doing things over and over and over again. And then you start making the better decisions, right? Okay, well, maybe I should see this out. Like I shouldn't get distracted by this, right? Like we
It's
have
just
something
because,
that's working. Like no, like it's a good opportunity, but no, like I'm just not going to do that. And that's the
it's
big
just
thing is too, just saying no to things.
it's typically because you screwed up so many times really fast. So
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. Well, cool, man, Brian. It's been a pleasure getting the chance to talk,
yeah, thank
a
you.
little bit about what your journey's been like, what you guys are building over at White Label. It definitely sounds like something interesting and something I'm
Yeah,
definitely going to check out, and would recommend the audience to as well. So, what are some
yes,
places
please.
that people can go find you guys and maybe either reach out to you specifically or your team?
Yeah, well, a couple, definitely whitelabeliq.com, our website. Um, we have a lot of information. As I said, being helpful, we put a lot of resources, a lot of content into that. LinkedIn also, we publish pretty regularly, and I believe I put a lot into that content, so I have a lot of value there. So find us on LinkedIn also. But one more, if you would, particularly if you're in the agency space,
Mhm.
agencycore.org. The research that we're launching out there, it's primary research. It's real from real people on the ground, and I'm really excited to start more aggressively bringing that to everybody.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include those links in the description. Make sure to go check out Brian and the team and what they're building. If you guys did make it all the way to the end, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And we hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thanks again, Brian.
Thank you.